Somebody said, women don't like Donald Trump. I said, I think that's wrong. I think they love me. I love them. I love them. But the fake news is doing everything possible, everything they can to help Kamala Harris. Do you ever notice nobody knows what her last name is? I go, okay, I'm going to give you the first name. Tell me the last name. I say, Kamala. They have no idea who the hell she is. I pulled out an old law from 1907 because we don't pass laws like that are tough. But what happened, so with Afghanistan, you know, I do the weave. You know what the weave is? I'll talk about like 9 different things, and they all come back brilliantly together. And it's like, and friends of mine that are like English professors, they say, it's the most brilliant thing I've ever seen. But the fake news, you know what they say? He rambled. That's not rambling. When you have, what you do is you get off a subject to mention another little tidbit, then you get back onto the subject, and you go through this, and you do it for 2 hours, and you don't even mispronounce one word. We get a little itchy, David, don't we? No, he's on our side. You know what he's showing? At Butler, an amazing thing happened. You had 2 American flags, very far apart, held up, I think, by different cranes. They were very big flags, beautiful flags, and they were waving. And as that horrible event was taking place, the wind blew the flags together, and they formed a perfect angel. I don't know if we have it, but it was a perfect angel was formed. But that's her. And now she's changed everything. In fact, I think she is going to soon apply for, give me an application for joining MAGA. She's going to be wearing a MAGA cap. It was a story in the New York Times, which is losing reader after reader. I'm happy about that. I have to be happy because they truly are the enemy of the people. They are the enemy of the people. They tell false stories about me. That's all they do is they write false stories. They're incapable. I could do the greatest thing. I got to tell you, I ran for office, and they were covering it viciously. But it was front page every day. And then I won. I beat everybody. And I had a story on page 17. So I won, David. And my story was on page 17. But I was always at page 1 when I made a little speech or something. It's, that's why they call it the fake news media. And it was so beautiful, and we left, and everything was nice. And then later on that day, I heard that we were using the graves of those soldiers for public relations purposes, you know? And that was all put out by the White House. Joe Biden killed those young people because he was incompetent. And then they tell me that I used their graves for public relations services and carved, engraved with the names on them. I said, absolutely. I wasn't doing it for, I don't need publicity. I get a lot of publicity. I would like to get a lot less publicity. I would pay to get, I'm the only guy who would hire a public relations agent to get less publicity. Most hire to get publicity. And they say he had 100,000 people. You know, in New Jersey, we had 107,000 people. They never like to report it, so I say it. But in Wildwood, New Jersey, they announced 107,000 people. And then, but what happened, so with Afghanistan, you know, I do the weave. You know what the weave is? I'll talk about like 9 different things, and they all come back brilliantly together. And it's like, and friends of mine that are like English professors, they say, it's the most brilliant thing I've ever seen. But the fake news, you know what they say? He rambled. That's not rambling. When you have, what you do is you get off a subject to mention another little tidbit, then you get back onto the subject, and you go through this, and you do it for 2 hours, and you don't even mispronounce one word. But they think if they keep saying it over and over, you know, most people aren't like us. They're not that, you know, they drive a cab. They're carpenters, they're electricians, they're accountants, they're lawyers. They're not like into it other than they like Trump. They like, meaning they like our policies, because it's not about me. This is not about me. I had a nice life. You can ask my friend. I had the greatest life. I could go to the most beautiful places, look at the most beautiful oceans in the world. Instead, here we are, and I'm happy as hell to be with you because I like it much better. Mail-in voting, Jimmy Carter headed up a commission. By the way, the happiest man in the United States today is Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter. My wife went to the funeral of Rosalind, beautiful funeral, like 8 months ago. And I looked at Jimmy. Jimmy's old, but he's happy. You know why? Because his administration is considered brilliant compared to this administration. Brilliant. He's a happy man. Mail-in voting, Jimmy Carter headed up a commission. By the way, the happiest man in the United States today is Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter. My wife went to the funeral of Rosalind, beautiful funeral, like 8 months ago. And I looked at Jimmy. Jimmy's old, but he's happy. You know why? Because his administration is considered brilliant compared to this administration. Brilliant. He's a happy man. She's done to every place she's touched has turned to shit. Every single place she's touched. Have to say it. Every place she's touched, you know, you might have heard this. Franklin Graham is wonderful. And he wrote me a letter and he said, "Sir, I love your stories and I love listening to your rallies, but could you please don't use foul language. Your speeches would be even better if you didn't use foul language." But there's an example. It's not really that bad a word, but how can you top that word for what I'm talking about, right? What word? Every place she touches wouldn't be nice. That would be a thud. It would land with a thud. No.
And who always has your best interests, has your back. I have your back, I have your heart, and I have every other part of your body. And I have every other part of your body. And I have every other part of your body. And I have every other part of your body. And I have every other part of your body. And I have every other part of your body. And I have every other part of your body. And I have every other part of your body.
The circle of life eventually closes on all things. For Impetus Americanus, the time for prowling will soon be at an end. It was to be his final hunt. His prey, older, weaker, unable to fight back. The best kind, or so he thought. But Impetus Americanus made a mistake. He is slow. He is lost. His imagined strengths are but weaknesses. And he's alone. His mate, his cubs, already eyeing new, greener lands. His pack is flimsy and overmatched. His lieutenants are weak and timid. The decades creak in his bones. The humiliations fester in every fold of soft, bloated skin. And as he rambles and wanders among the fields, no longer on the trail, he reeks of fear. He's afraid of the conflict, of what comes next. He starts to realize it is not his last hunt. Impetus Americanus is the hunted. He is the prey. The apex predator is approaching, preparing to devour him. It is Mother Nature's design that the circle of life eventually closes on all things. For Impetus Americanus, that circle is